Hi, Brandon. This is Edward with feedback on your essay for the Seeing paper. So as always, whenever I start with feedback, I generally am thinking about the assignment goals and kind of like the particular focuses for this paper. And in this case, we're looking for the synthesis of material, kind of citation practices, MLA, kind of your third version of thesis, and then argumentation. And in terms of kind of the particulars, the idea of using no more than three sources, no more than about 15–20% of the page being quote, examples from your own experience, strong thesis, first person as well. I think the one that there are two big things that I would think about if you want to revise this paper for your final portfolio. And I think it is inquiry question. Why are we asking the question in terms of the introduction? And then examples in your own experience. So I think you have a really strong essay here. So if I'm thinking about this in terms of the goals of argumentation, synthesis of your language with the language of others, I'm like, okay, this is good. And I think you were saying in your cover letter that you were a little bit over concerned about your evidence. You're saying up here that you're using too much evidence. I think what you mean there is too many quotes as well. I don't think so. Oh, one tiny thing while I'm sitting here right now. You don't need the comma in between the Berger and the page number in the parenthetical citation. It's a very small point. But, oh, and while I'm here as well, this is actually should be a block quote as well. So kind of think about a little bit of the MLA. Say, oh, and because I have another one while I'm at the same time. So I think all this looks good. I guess that is called, I think this is actually though called collected essays. That was the thing that I was thinking. So look at that as well. But back to your paper. So in my WRD 104 class, the big research project they do is called a contextual analysis. And it is inquiry-based and not argument-based. So now you are doing an argument here, so that's good. But at the same time as what I tell my students in that class, I think holds true here as well. And it has to do with the question of like, why are we asking the question? And so that's always the trick for actually drafting the document, is there needs to be a reason why we're asking the question. And in this case, the question that's being asked is, what is the nature of beauty? Why do we find things beautiful? So I think that's the thing that I'm looking for in this introduction, is that I need like a reason, like why are you speculating about the nature of beauty? I think a lot of times it's just that people are kind of like, oh, well, I'm just doing it because I was told by my instructor that I needed to do this for this paper. So the challenge for you as a writer is to kind of craft some reason why you would be thinking about this. It was like, and it can be, and that's part of the reason why I think I always ask writers to think about this from their own experience. The fact that, and one of the things we've been kind of talking about during the course of the quarter, and Berger definitely talks about it in The White Bird, is that beauty is often the exception. So that for the most part, it was funny because as the snow has been melting here in Chicago and I've been out on walks and things like this, I have been often not stunned, I don't know if that's the word for it, but I'm often like, oh my God, this place is so dirty. Whereas all just the crap that kind of got mixed up in the snow and they push it along the side of the street and then it melts down. And then it's just this wreckage, this flotsam and jetsam of just stuff. And so that then among this, you'll see something like, flowers poking their head out through, the spring flowers coming up through this as well. And then that often is that aesthetic emotion. So I almost think that maybe some type of you talking about some experience that you had where you see something like that. And then they would say, it's like, well, so why is it that we think that these flowers blooming are any more beautiful than the flotsam and jetsam of the kind of trash on the street? So what distinguishes one from the other? Why do we find this thing beautiful and this thing not beautiful? And I think some type of introduction like that would be really effective. So give us a reason why we're asking this question. Because I think that's the other thing. So you've got some good examples. So I'm going through the example, diving in and out of the glistening water and things like that. Red cardinal. I thought that was I like this fact that it was a very specific bird here as well. But in a lot of ways, the most effective example you have right here is of the Eiffel Tower. So the fact that this is this thing that is not necessarily just beautiful. Would people just look at this wrought iron structure and say, oh, that's beautiful? Most likely not. And matter of fact, there was a lot of, and that could even be expanded out, that when the building was initially built, it was considered to be somewhat of an eyesore. It was more of a technical marvel than it was like an aesthetic beauty. Now, as time went on, there was an aestheticism that was placed on it. Then all of a sudden it had to do with the idea of romance and things like this. And so this kind of culturally conditioned view that we end up thinking that this thing is beautiful. So I think that's kind of what I want you to do with these as well, is I want you to kind of personalize them a little bit more into your experience. And explain out a little bit more about like how this works, this unpredictability right there as well. And maybe there are just certain things that we just see, and this culturally conditioning and evolution could kind of fit into that as well. But so I think those are the things. Think about your introduction, give us a reason why we're talking about this. Personalize it a little bit more into your experience. Expand your examples, maybe literally have them be you saying, I saw this and I thought it was beautiful, or when I saw this, this happened, I had this aesthetic emotion as well. And I think that'll make it seem a little less abstract. Oh, and then finally think about your MLA citation, your parenthetical citations within the text itself. All right, I hope this was helpful.